The shopping mall was long deserted by 10:37 p.m. Shops had pulled down their shutters, and the echoing footsteps belonged only to the cleaning staff wandering the empty corridors. Outside, the parking lot was cloaked in near total silence, the kind that feels thick enough to drown out even your own thoughts. The only thing breaking that heavy quiet was the sharp click of high heels. Emily's heels, cutting a brisk path toward the elevator. She clutched several shopping bags, her pace hurried but restless. A strange unease gnawed at her, though she couldn't pinpoint why. Maybe it was the leftover anxiety from the day, or maybe the dim flickering of the overhead lights. Emily stepped into the elevator and exhaled deeply, pressing the ground floor button with a tense finger. The doors began to close slowly when suddenly a hand shot out, jamming the doors open. "Excuse me," said a man's voice. He stepped in just in time. He wore a black tee beneath a dark jacket, his rough beard framing a face that was both weathered and calm. Emily glanced at him sideways but avoided any sign of interest. She preferred being alone, but as it turned out that was no longer an option. The man moved to one corner. "I'm surprised anyone's still doing last-minute shopping at this hour," he said with a smile. Emily cast a sharp look his way. "That's none of your business." "Mind your own," she replied curtly, her tone cold and clipped. The elevator hummed downward for a few floors, then shuddered violently. The lights flickered once, twice, and then shut off altogether. Darkness. Emily's heart jumped in panic. She dropped her bags and leaned against the wall, breath uneven. What had just happened? Why had the elevator stopped? The man fumbled for his phone, then pressed the emergency help button on the panel. "Looks like a system glitch. Stay calm. Help will be on the way soon." Emily's voice trembled. "I hate the dark. And small spaces. It's like I can't breathe. Take a deep breath. I'm here." "You're not alone," the man said softly. Emily sank to the floor, knees drawn to her chest, running her hands through her hair. How long will this take? What if no one notices? He shifted closer but didn't touch her, his voice steady and reassuring. "They'll notice." The help call went through. "Maybe the signal's weak, but someone will hear." He paused, then added, "Mind if we talk? Might help take your mind off the dark." Emily closed her eyes. "All right. Just talk. Anything to keep the shadows from swallowing her whole." He smiled. "I'm Jack. Architect. You?" "Emily. I work at an ad agency. Today was a nightmare. Just wanted to get home." Her voice cracked a little as she tried to laugh it off. Jack sat down beside her. "Seems we share the same luck tonight. Maybe this is exactly what was supposed to happen." Emily turned her head, eyes glinting faintly in the dim glow from Jack's phone screen as he switched on the flashlight and pointed it to the ceiling. Their eyes met, a brief moment when time seemed to freeze. "It's strange," Emily whispered. "Talking to you here. Your voice feels like I've known you for years." Jack tilted his head. "Sometimes a stranger is the most familiar voice you'll ever hear." Emily's hand trembled as it reached for her hair, then glanced down at her scattered bags. Jack noticed. "Want some chocolate? I got some on me." For the first time that evening, Emily smiled. "Sure, I can't say no to chocolate." He pulled out a small packet, and they shared it sitting side by side in the dark, the silence filled with the quiet crackle of wrapper and the soft warmth of shared company. Noticing her hand shaking, Jack asked gently, "Mind if I hold your hand?" Emily hesitated, then slid her hand into his. The warmth between their fingers felt like more than just a touch. It was a silent promise. Neither spoke for a moment, but the charged silence said everything. "Your hands are warm," Emily said softly. Jack grinned. "Yours are a bit shaky, but that'll pass." Emily caught herself smiling again. The tension was easing, her fears melting into the steady presence beside her. Trust in a stranger in an elevator stuck in darkness. Maybe it was foolish, maybe it was human. Ever been stuck in an elevator with a stranger before? Emily teased. Jack winked. "Not like this, but I can't say I've met someone I felt this close to out of nowhere." Emily looked down. "You're a good distraction, Jack." That shifted the air between them. No longer just words, but something deeper pulsed in the cramped metal box. Jack settled cross-legged opposite her, their faces lit by the soft glow of his phone. Breaths mingled, eyes locked. "Confession time?" Emily said. Jack nodded. "At first, when I saw you step in, I thought, Please don't get stuck with me, she admitted, but now I'm glad you're here. Jack paused, then slid closer, his knees brushing hers. A small contact, but heavy with meaning. When I saw you, I thought you looked like a strong woman, but maybe also a little fragile. Now I'm sure. Emily's eyes darted away. Fragile, yes. Strong? Just a mask. Silence fell again, but this time it was charged. Words unnecessary as their gazes spoke volumes. Slowly Jack lowered his head. Emily didn't resist. Her eyes half closed, lips parted slightly, breath quickening. His forehead touched hers, then his nose brushed her cheek. She closed her eyes. Then a kiss, soft, hesitant but real. When Emily opened her eyes, their smiles met. She rested her head on Jack's shoulder. I think this is the first time I've felt safe in the dark, she said quietly. Jack's fingers tangled gently in her hair, stroking with care. Minutes passed as they sat wrapped in each other's warmth, the broken elevator forgotten. He brushed her cheek tenderly. The light touch sent shivers down her spine, not rushed but full of longing and respect. Her hand found his chest, feeling the rapid beat beneath. Do you think it's coincidence that we're here like this? She whispered. Jack smiled faintly, shaking his head. No. Fate's little games brought me to you. Emily said nothing, just leaned in, her lips grazing his neck. No pressure, only the soft breath of a moment suspended in time. Jack inhaled deeply. When her lips finally touched skin, a spark ignited. Unable to resist, Jack cupped her face, deepening the kiss. Her hand slid around his waist, then up his back. Their bodies intertwined in the darkness, instinctively familiar. Emily's back rested against the cold metal wall, but Jack's arms wrapped her in warmth. She closed her eyes, letting sensation wash over her. His lips trailed down her neck and shoulder, her head tilted back in silent surrender. Words lost meaning, but their hands spoke volumes. Buttons on Emily's blouse slowly undone, not rushed but reverent, a ritual of trust and desire. She didn't resist, eyes closed, surrendering to the heat of his lips and the softness of his touch. In that moment, time stood still inside the elevator. Later, Emily smoothed her blouse and hair, their eyes meeting once more. No shame, no regret, just calm acceptance. Jack planted a soft kiss on her cheek. If you don't want to lose me, keep holding my hand when we get out. Deal. Emily nodded, smiling. Tonight's not over. It's just changing locations. The elevator remained stubbornly silent, but neither of them cared. Outside, the world was dark and cold. But inside their little metal box, a different kind of night was just beginning. The elevator remained still, trapped in its mechanical slumber. Outside, the distant hum of the mall's closing echoed faintly, the world carrying on oblivious to the tiny drama unfolding within its steel confines. Emily and Jack sat close, the faint glow of Jack's phone casting soft shadows across their faces. The silence between them wasn't awkward, it was charged with a delicate kind of electricity, a fragile thread weaving two strangers together in the most unexpected way. Emily shifted slightly, the edge of her blouse brushing against her skin, the cool air of the elevator contrasting with the warmth radiating between them. She was dressed for a night out, though the night had taken a detour. Her dress was a deep emerald green, its fabric clinging to her curves in a way that was both elegant and subtly seductive. The hem fell just above her knees, revealing toned legs encased in sheer black stockings. Her shoes, classic black stilettos with delicate ankle straps, tapped lightly against the metal floor as she adjusted her position. Around her neck, a slender silver chain held a tiny pendant shaped like a key, catching the dim light with every movement. Jack watched her with a quiet intensity, the corner of his mouth twitching into a smile. His dark hair was slightly tousled, the result of a long day and the stress of their current predicament. His navy jacket was rumpled but still sharp, and beneath it, a crisp white shirt clung to his broad shoulders. The sleeves were rolled up to his elbows, revealing forearms dusted with dark hair and the faintest hint of a tattoo peeking out near his wrist. There was something undeniably rugged about him, softened by the gentle way he reached for her hand again, intertwining their fingers. You know, Jack said, breaking the silence with a grin, I never thought I'd be stuck in an elevator and end up feeling like I'm on a date. He gave her a playful wink. Emily laughed softly, the sound like a melody in the cramped space. Well, I wasn't expecting to get rescued by my knight in slightly rumpled armor either. She squeezed his hand, her eyes sparkling with amusement. Jack's smile deepened. Rumpled armor suits me. Though I must admit I was hoping for a bit more action than just pressing buttons and waiting for someone to notice. Emily raised an eyebrow. Action? You mean like a high-speed elevator chase? Or maybe a daring escape from a malfunctioning lift? Exactly, Jack said mock seriously. I was kind of hoping we'd have to rappel down the shaft or at least have a dramatic power surge that makes us look like we're in a spy movie. Emily shook her head, smiling. You should write scripts. You're better at this than waiting around. Their laughter faded into a comfortable quiet. Outside, the faint buzz of a security radio crackled, distant but growing closer. A sign that help was finally on its way. Jack's expression softened. You know, it's funny how moments like this happen. Two people stuck somewhere, forced to slow down and notice each other. Maybe that's what life's about, finding connection in the strangest places. Emily looked at him, her eyes searching. Do you believe in fate? Jack hesitated, then nodded slowly. I do. Otherwise, what's the point of all this? The chance meetings, the unexpected detours, they have to mean something. The elevator shuddered again, the lights flickering back to life. The small metal box seemed to sigh, releasing its captive passengers back into the world. The doors slid open, flooding the space with harsh fluorescent light and the distant noise of closing time. Security guards stood just outside, their faces a mix of concern and relief. Emily stood first, brushing imaginary dust off her dress. Her cheeks flushed from the adrenaline and the closeness of the night. Jack followed, slipping his phone back into his pocket. Their hands remained linked, fingers entwined like a silent vow outside. The cold night air hit them, crisp and real, a stark contrast to the cocoon they'd shared. Emily looked up at Jack, a mischievous glint returning to her eyes. So, architect, what's your next move? Planning to escort me safely home or just disappearing into the night? Jack grinned. I think I'm obligated to at least make sure you get home in one piece. Plus, I'm curious to see if this was just a one-time thing, or if we're about to start a proper story. Emily's smile deepened. I like the sound of that. As they walked toward the parking lot. The night seemed less intimidating, the shadows less dense. But somewhere, deep in the back of Emily's mind, a flicker of uncertainty remained, a quiet whisper hinting that the night's surprises were far from over. And as Jack glanced at the darkened mall behind them, his phone buzzed softly in his pocket, a message from an unknown number, just 2 words glowing on the screen. Did you see? The question hung between them like a shadow, promising that their unexpected encounter was only the beginning. The night air was crisp as Emily and Jack stepped out of the mall's parking structure, their breaths visible in the chilly autumn breeze. The fluorescent lights of the parking lot cast long, sharp shadows, but the warmth between them seemed to push the cold back like a shield. Jack kept holding Emily's hand, fingers intertwined so naturally it felt as though they'd known each other far longer than just an hour. Emily tugged slightly on his sleeve. Well, Mr. Architect, I'm expecting you to tell me the story behind that cryptic message. Did you see? What's that about? Jack's brow furrowed, the playful glint in his eyes replaced by a serious edge. He pulled out his phone, unlocking the screen to reveal a text from an unknown number. The message was simple but unsettling. Did you see? He scrolled back but found no previous messages. Just that one chilling question. I have no idea who this is, Jack admitted, his voice low. And I definitely don't know what they're talking about. Emily's eyes narrowed. Could it be some kind of prank? Or maybe a wrong number? Maybe, Jack said, pocketing the phone. But something about it feels off. They reached Emily's car, a sleek black sedan gleaming under the parking lot lights. She opened the passenger door, sliding in gracefully despite her heels. Her blouse shimmered faintly in the light, the silver key pendant resting just above the neckline. A quiet reminder of the night's unexpected turn. Jack leaned against the car, running a hand through his hair. You know, usually I'm the one arriving late to these things, but tonight, I think the universe threw us together for a reason. Emily smiled, biting her lower lip. Maybe it did. Or maybe we're just two strangers who got stuck in an elevator and made the best of it. Jack laughed softly. Either way, I don't regret it. As Emily started the engine, her phone buzzed in her bag. She pulled it out tentatively. Another message from an unknown number. This one was an image. A blurry snapshot of the mall's elevator, taken from inside the shaft. The grainy photo captured the very elevator they'd been trapped in. But in the background, something or someone lurched just out of focus, Emily's breath caught. Jack, look at this. Jack leaned over, eyes scanning the image. Is that a person? I don't know. But it wasn't us, and it wasn't anyone we saw in the mall. A sudden chill ran down Emily's spine, her fingers tightening on the steering wheel. Who would take a picture like this? And why send it to us? Jack's gaze hardened. I think we're about to find out. They exchanged a look, a silent agreement passing between them. What started as a simple mechanical failure had become something far more complicated, and far more dangerous. Emily started the car, the engine's hum breaking the eerie quiet. As they pulled away from the parking lot, the mall's dark silhouette loomed behind them, its secrets waiting to be uncovered. Neither knew it yet, but the night was far from over, and the real mystery was just beginning. The sudden ping from Jack's phone made both of them jump. Another message. This time a single word. Watch. Emily swallowed hard, eyes on the dimly lit road ahead, and somewhere, in the shadows just beyond the edge of the streetlights, a figure watched them drive away, silent, unseen but unmistakably present. The game had begun. The city streets of Ashford were quiet that night, the usual hum of late-night traffic reduced to an occasional car passing by. Emily's sedan glided smoothly through the dimly lit roads, the glow from the dashboard casting soft light onto her determined face. Jack sat beside her, eyes flicking between the road ahead and the messages that kept appearing on his phone. Each alert felt like the ticking of a clock counting down to something unknown. Emily's outfit, though slightly disheveled from the night's unexpected turn, still held an air of effortless elegance. Her emerald dress hugged her slender figure, the neckline dipping just enough to suggest confidence without overstepping any bounds. The delicate silver key pendant rested against her collarbone, catching the occasional flicker of streetlights as she turned her head to glance at Jack. Her black stilettos tapped faintly against the car's footrest, a rhythm matching the rapid beat of her heart. Jack, meanwhile, had loosened his jacket, the sleeves of his crisp white shirt rolled up, revealing a strong forearm that bore the faint scars of past projects and late nights. His dark hair was tousled, and the shadow of a 5 o'clock beard added a rugged charm to his otherwise composed demeanor. Despite the tension hanging between them, his eyes held a warmth that seemed to anchor Emily amidst the swirling uncertainty. Another message came through, Jack said quietly, breaking the silence. This one's a video. Emily's breath hitched. A video? From who? Jack shook his head, pulling his phone closer. The screen flickered as the video played. A shaky, grainy clip filmed through a cracked camera lens. The footage showed the elevator shaft from a high vantage point, the metal walls stretching downward into darkness. Then, just as the camera dipped lower, a shadow moved, a figure slipping silently into view just out of focus. The outline was vague, but the movement was deliberate, almost predatory. Emily swallowed hard. That's where we were. But who was that? And why would someone be down there? Jack's jaw tightened. I don't know, but whoever it is, they're watching us. Or maybe they're watching them all. The sudden chill crept over Emily, despite the warmth inside the car. She reached out, brushing a stray lock of hair behind her ear, her fingers trembling slightly. Do you think this is connected to the elevator malfunction? To us being stuck? Jack's eyes met hers, steady and serious. Everything's connected tonight. The messages, the photos, the elevator. It's like someone's trying to draw us into something. Emily's phone buzzed again, making her jump. She fished it out, her thumb hovering over the screen. Another text from the unknown sender. Find the key. She looked up, meeting Jack's gaze. The key. Like my necklace? Jack nodded slowly. Could be a clue. Or a warning. Emily's heart pounded in her chest. The pendant she wore felt heavier suddenly, as if it held secrets beyond its simple design. She traced the small key with her fingertip, wondering what doors it might unlock. Both literally and figuratively. Jack reached over, his hand covering hers on the gear shift. His touch was reassuring, grounding her in the swirling storm of mystery. Whatever this is, we face it together. Emily smiled faintly, the tension easing just a bit. Together, she agreed. They drove on into the night, the city lights blurring past like distant stars. Behind them, the mall stood silent and foreboding, its shadows hiding more than just an elevator. Somewhere in the darkness, a figure watched their taillights fade away, fingers curling around a small, ornate key identical to the one dangling from Emily's neck. And as the city slept, the real puzzle awaited. one that promised to unravel everything they thought they knew. The night was far from over. The early morning mist clung to the narrow streets of Ashford as Emily and Jack arrived at the small, tucked-away cafe that Emily frequented, the Willow Branch. The cafe was a charming little spot nestled between a vintage bookstore and an old-fashioned barber's shop, its warm glow spilling out onto the cobblestones and offering a stark contrast to the chill of the dawn. Inside, the scent of freshly brewed coffee and warm pastries wrapped around them like a comforting embrace. Emily shed her emerald coat as they stepped inside, revealing the soft fabric of her dress beneath. The way it hugged her silhouette caught a few glances, but Emily was too preoccupied to notice. Her black stilettos clicked softly against the wooden floor, and she moved with a graceful urgency that carried an undercurrent of both nervousness and quiet determination. She settled into a corner booth, the silver key pendant resting just above her collarbone, catching the light as if it were alive. Jack followed, loosening his tie and running a hand through his dark hair, a faint smirk playing at the edges of his lips. His rolled-up sleeves revealed sinewy forearms, marked with faint ink from a tattoo he'd never bothered to explain. Despite the morning's calm, there was an intensity to his gaze that refused to wane. The barista approached with 2 steaming cups of coffee, carefully placing them on the table. "On the house," she said with a wink, "you both look like you could use it." Emily smiled gratefully, wrapping her hands around the warm mug. "Thank you. It's been a long night." Jack nodded in agreement, taking a slow sip. "You're telling me. I'm starting to think elevators are out to get me." Emily chuckled softly. "At least it wasn't the escalator. I hear those things have a mind of their own." Jack grinned. "True. But if I ever get stuck on one, I'm calling you for backup." The brief moment of levity eased the tension, but the shadow of the unknown lingered. Emily hesitated before pulling out her phone, navigating to the last message. "Find the key. It's cryptic, but it's the only lead we have." Jack leaned in, eyes narrowing thoughtfully. "Could be literal. Maybe there's an actual key we need to find. Or it could be metaphorical, like unlocking some hidden truth." Emily's fingers traced the pendant again. "I don't know why, but I feel like this key means something more. Something tied to that mall, or to whoever's been watching us." Jack's expression darkened. "We need to find out who sent those messages. And fast." Just then the cafe door swung open, and a cold gust swept inside. Both Emily and Jack turned toward the entrance, their eyes locking on a figure silhouetted against the pale dawn light. The man stepped inside, his presence commanding yet unassuming. He was dressed in a tailored gray coat, the collar turned up against the morning chill. His eyes, sharp and calculating, scanned the room before settling on Emily and Jack. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, voice smooth but edged with something unreadable. Emily exchanged a wary glance with Jack. There was something familiar about this stranger, a hint of recognition buried beneath layers of mystery. Jack gestured to the empty seat across from them. "Sure. But you might want to start by telling us who you are." The man smiled thinly, sliding into the booth. "Name's Victor. I believe we have a mutual interest in the events of last night." Emily's pulse quickened. "And what exactly do you know about our little elevator adventure?" Victor's eyes glinted. "More than you think. And I'm here to help for now." As the first rays of sunlight pierced through the cafe windows, casting long shadows across the table, Emily, Jack, and Victor found themselves entangled in a web far more complex than a stuck elevator, one that would test their trust, unveil hidden dangers, and challenge everything they believed about fate and coincidence. And somewhere deep beneath the city, in the forgotten tunnels beneath the mall, a secret waited, locked away, silent and watching. The key was only the beginning.